Hi, I wanted to let you know that I've been meeting with some of the key church leaders since the start of the pandemic. I've recorded a meeting that I had with them recently, and I wanted you to see it because I wanted you to know how your leadership is at work for you at Skyland UMC. Good morning. I am meeting with several leaders in the church, so why don't we go around and tell us who you are and how you serve Skyland United Methodists. We'll start with the Fredericks.
Which one do
Just
you want?
tell us who you are and the how you serve.
I'll volunteer to go first since it says Sandy Frederick in the block. I'm not Sandy. I'm Charles. And I serve as the chair of the finance committee, and now rounding in my 10th year of doing this. But I wanted to give just a quick update, and there'll be a lot more of this to come in the upcoming weeks. Sort of a thumbnail sketch of where we are on the financial side. I think a lot of you are familiar with the fact that we, as a church, took what ended up being the right decision in applying and receiving a PPP loan that was $72,500. That really helped us during the early months of COVID, helped us keep our staff in place. It helped us keep all of our operating expenses rolling and gave us some more or less air cover during that time as we were trying to figure things out. As you've seen in the weekly updates, we are still in the black. We're positive for the year. Most of that is thanks to the PPP loan and the fact that we're basically on plan with our scheduled pledged giving, which is great news, and I want to thank everybody for that. But it's where this does hurt us by not seeing each other each Sunday is we're not receiving any unpledged giving. And normally that makes up at least 20% of our annual income. So that is one of the things that we've been challenged with. I have to say that the staff has been doing a great job on the expense side. Trustees and Scott Jones and his team have done a terrific job with managing the expenses. We've cut back on a lot of things, obviously, by not going into the facilities and utilizing the facilities. So to this point, we are in good shape. The other thing that's probably the best news to report is that our cash position, we have over 4 months worth of expenses right now on hand, which is as good as we've been in a long while. I will say that looking forward, you'll be seeing things coming soon about the budget, the pledging, and things like that for 2021. I do think we're going to need to tighten our belt even more going into 2021 as we look to where we may be heading. Obviously, pledging is going to be a major, major barometer for us to go by for the budget for next year. But overall, and I do want to thank the Finance Committee because of the meeting and the responses they've given. We've been rolling right along, and I believe that we're in as good a shape as we could hope to be in at this point as we continue to go through this time we're in. And so, Dan, I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thanks, Charles. And I'm glad you mentioned the committee. A shout out to them because meeting on Zoom isn't the easiest thing to do, and they've been faithful in their task. Well, thanks for that. Jack, tell us who you are and how you serve the church.
Good morning. I'm Jack Harrison. I am the chair of the administrative board. And your administrative board is designed, and its role is to try and be the group of leaders that look at the mission, the administration, just kind of an oversight of everything we do. The most critical thing that we've done recently, and have met again via Zoom, is discuss and approve the reopening of the Around the Sun preschool. After much discussion, much evaluation, looking at the protocol that Dana McGraw, the director of the preschool, put together on how to operate the preschool, why we should operate the preschool, a very good synopsis that Dan was able to put together to congeal his thoughts and our thoughts, we made the decision that the Around the Sun could relatively safely reopen at about a 50% occupancy rate. And this week, the teachers are there, and on September the 14th, students will actually be coming back. And just please be assured, there is a rigorous protocol that they will be following to manage the safety of staff and children while providing a place of community for the children. The other little thing I like to talk about is we have developed a COVID-19 support fund, let's call it, in which we have received over $20,000 worth of funds. We have shared and granted out about 6,000 to 7,000, I don't have the exact numbers, to both individual families and organizations that provide support for homelessness and feeding of those in our community that are affected by the COVID-19. I want to give a big shout out to this congregation, this church family that has supported them in this way. And it does my heart very good to see how we have stood up and are supporting our community and ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah,
Now you got it back.
A lot of heart been shown. Thanks, Jack. Scott, tell us who you are and how you're serving the church.
So good morning. My name is Scott Jones, and I am the current chairman for the Board of Trustees at Skyland. And I guess in short, the Board of Trustees are responsible for managing the physical assets or the physical plant at Skyland Church. And we obviously have continued to do that while we've been away from the facility over the last 5 or 6 months. If you've not been by church during that time, some things have continued to happen while we've been away. The old scout hut that was located in the rear of the property has been removed, for example. We've identified some roof repairs that we needed to undertake, and those will be kicking off here shortly in September or October. You'll see a large roofing crew on site to replace the roof over the fellowship hall. And there have been some other things that are happening on a more minor scale. We're trying to get set up in anticipation of us being back in the building later in October or September. Trustees at their last regular meeting in September decided that Skyland Church, we should not move back into the facility until we got to a phase 3 with the state's COVID-19 response strategy. We anticipate that happening possibly as early as October, and so we look forward to having some type of in-house service or worship later in October. In the meantime, though, as Jack has mentioned in his message, the ATSP, or Around the Sun Preschool, will begin meeting here in September, and they work really closely with the trustees on the guidelines and strategies that they're going to follow to make sure they're operating safely. And we have reopened that portion of the facility so that they can meet and share that ministry with our local community. So we look forward to having them back on site. I guess in the meantime, we have had several groups request of trustees usage of space either outside at church or inside the church facility. And if your group needs to meet on the ground somewhere at Skyland, I would encourage you to reach out to me or another member of the trustee board and submit that request so that we can review that and get you an acknowledgement and approval or possibly find you an alternative for your meeting there at Skyland.
Thanks, Scott. It sounds like the trustees have had the experience of many, and that even though the building has closed, they've been perhaps busier than they would normally be during the summer.
I think so.
Thanks for that. Well, Sandy, tell us who you are, and I have a question for you after you tell us that.
Okay, so Sandy Frederick, and lay leader now, which has been an interesting year to try to be a liaison of congregation to staff and clergy and conference and all, because things are certainly different this year. So yes, Dan.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because as the lay leader, you sit on several different committees. So you're kind of a common thread through a lot of committees that might not have otherwise have people who met together. You're a small group leader. And so you've seen the activity and the mission of the church. And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, what your take is on the spirit of the congregation in general and how you've seen that play out.
So I'm amazed, I'm grateful, I'm impressed. I do wonder if a number of people in the congregation don't know how much, just like all that work Scott's committee has done with trustees, with the physical, or the things that have been behind the scenes, getting to the point of, with the admin board, around the sun, being able to finally get back in the building, just knowing how many folks are still just as involved, or if not more involved, and doing it all virtually, doing it for the most part all by Zoom. All these committees have continued to be engaged, and the members are participating, and it's been great for me in this position this year, in this odd situation, to be a part of each of those and see how everybody is still continuing on with their administrative jobs, their mission work. Things are still happening, and hopefully folks are seeing in the YouTube announcements, the blessing box going on, and that's been great. And the produce on Saturday mornings, where we can't be doing welcome table. So without our welcome table on site, we've got the blessing box taking part of that. We've got the produce on Saturday mornings doing part of that. We're still fulfilling so many of our missions. As Jack had mentioned, the COVID-19 fund, money from that is going to supplement some of the folks that we already have mission connections with, and a few new, as well as being a supplement to families in our church who need that as well. I hope that people will take advantage of, and I know folks are watching YouTube and they're seeing the sermons and the music offerings and the prayers and the announcements. I hope folks will continue to join in with Dan on Sunday mornings on the Sunday morning Zoom brunch, because there are a lot of Zoom meetings and there are a lot of mission works happening. And that Zoom brunch is one nice place to just have a conversation with people you're not getting to have a conversation with. And when I'll talk to somebody, the fun thing for me being in on all these meetings is I feel like I'm seeing people. Jack and I had a conversation on the phone last week about our small group starting back tonight by Zoom. Jack's in the same group as I, and starting back tonight. And I said that I know tonight it's just going to be talking and catching up with everybody. So Jack, you and I have seen each other on a screen every week since February, but we haven't seen everybody else's face. And so I hope that more small groups are getting the chance to do that as well. I feel like we are staying best connected as we as a group and as a church and a body of Christ could be doing right now. So that wasn't a short answer, sorry.
I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the leadership of each of you, and I know the congregation will be encouraged by the witness that you brought to our meeting today. So thank you all. I hope that was informative. I hope you got to know your church leaders a little bit better, and if you get a chance, shoot them a thank you. Thanks for staying engaged with Skyland as we go through this together. Love you, and we'll see you soon.